Most people assume that living under laws means being protected by them. But history shows something more uncomfortable. In many societies, laws exist, yet protection disappears. So what determines whether law restrains power or becomes a tool of power? Understanding this difference explains why some governments enforce laws perfectly, while citizens still lose rights, protections, and freedom. In this explainer, we'll break down the difference between rule of law and rule by law, why they're often confused, and how to recognize which one operates in practice, not just on paper. When people hear the phrase rule of law, they often think it simply means a country has laws. But that's not enough. Rule of law means laws apply equally, power is constrained, and rights exist independently of who governs. In short, law stands above power. Rule by law looks similar, but works very differently. Under rule by law, laws still exist, courts still function, procedures still operate, but law is no longer a limit on power. Instead, power uses law as an instrument. This is where confusion sets in. People assume that if laws and courts exist, protection must exist too. But legality does not guarantee protection. A system can be highly legalistic and still deeply arbitrary. The question isn't whether laws exist, it's who the law ultimately serves. This connects directly to legitimacy, discussed in an earlier episode. When trust in authority is high, law is often experienced as protective. But when trust declines, governments don't abandon law. They rely on it more. That's when a shift begins, from law as a safeguard to law as an enforcement mechanism. The structure remains, the function changes. This shift accelerates during instability, economic stress, political fragmentation, or security threats. But governments still need compliance to function and stay in power. But persuasion becomes harder. So law fills that gap, not to convince, but to compel. Here's the key insight. The presence of law does not tell you whether power is limited. Only the relationship between law and power does. When law restrains authority, rights tend to survive. When authority controls the law, rights become conditional. Pay attention when laws are applied selectively, legality replaces justification, dissent becomes illegal rather than debated, emergency rules become permanent, and procedures multiply as trust declines. Laws don't automatically protect you. They protect you only when power is bound by them. That's the difference between rule of law and rule by law. And that raises an important question. In the system you live under, where is the balance heading? Is law increasingly limiting power, or is power increasingly using the law? This is TNBC Explainers, understanding how the world actually works. Rule of law versus rule by law is part of TNBC Explainers Module 2, Power, Governance, and the State. TNBC Explainers is a growing YouTube course. New concepts are added over time.